to connect your security sources. In the data connectors for Microsoft solutions that are available out of the box, as well as a broad selection of built-in connectors for non-Microsoft solutions. Now let's take a look at the Azure Active Directory connector as an example. Now to connect to Azure AD with Sentinel, you have to meet the prerequisites listed above. Once you do, it's as simple as checking a couple of boxes and clicking Apply Changes, and that's it. Sentinel will now ingest logs from Azure AD into the Log Analytics workspace that Sentinel sits on, and we'll be able to query those logs to generate relevant information. Now, with most connectors, sample workbooks are provided to help you visualize the logs in a graphical layout. You can take advantage of the built-in workbooks, or you can create custom workbooks based on your requirements. We will take a look at the custom workbooks in just a bit. Let's just take a look at a sample workbook provided related to the Azure AD sign-in logs. So in this case, we start off by the filter. We can select the time range that we're looking through, the applications, or filter by a user. And based on this information, we're presented with a graphical representation of all the Kusto queries or all the queries that we have run to be able to see this information visually. For example, here you can see all total number of sign-ins in the past 14 days. How many have failed, how many were success, how many were pending user action. All the sign-ins by location, so from Canada, United States, Vietnam, Brazil. The recent sign-in details, so successful, failures, etc. Sign-ins by device, so all the devices that are connecting to the tenant. Conditional access results, how many require MFA, how many are disabled, so on and so forth. Now, as a security analyst, once the data sources are connected, you can start analyzing your data with a query language called Kusto Query Language, or KQL. KQL allows you to create advanced and complex queries in just a few lines. Let's run a simple query to monitor anomalies in sign-in logs. So the query would be sign-in logs, summarize count by time generated in the past hour. All right, so here I'm analyzing the number of logs in the last 24 hours. Let's take a look at the chart format of this result. So here you can see the spike shown points to anomalies found by the service. This could lead you to investigate further of the actions that took place at this specific time. If all the other logins were between 300 and 11 logins per day, this one shows as 659 at around 5 a.m. this morning. So this is an anomaly that we have to investigate. What could have happened at this time? Where are all these sign-in logs generated from? So this can help us analyze the data that's already presented to us in a visual representation, just by writing a very simple query. Now, in order to generate incidents, analytic rules have to be created. This determines what could be a potential security threat. We can take advantage of the built-in rules or create our own using KQL. Now, when the criteria of any of these rules are met, Sentinel will generate an incident with the severity level chosen by the rule. And you can see here all these analytic rules created. Some of them are built in, some of them are custom made. Now, an incident is generated by an alert. And these can come from several sources, such as security solutions that you're connected to Sentinel, correlation rules that you've set up to detect specific activities, or anomalies tagged by machine learning models. If we take this analytic rule as this incident as an example, we can use the investigation tool to understand the scope and identify the root cause of a potential security threat. Now in this graph, we can see all the entities associated with the alert, from the user to the IP address to specific servers or endpoints if that's what the alert relates to. Now we can even explore further by filtering all the alerts related to this specific incident. So if we are to take a look at Sentinel test the user, there are 312 related alerts to this user. So we can click on that and even expand this view even more to try and correlate where are all these alerts coming from. And then you can see here, we have 3 different alerts that popped up. One of them is multiple password reset. Another one is login from George's IP. And then 310 other ones logging in from George's IP. So that is one of the analytics rules that was created. If any of the users is to sign in using a specific IP address, it would generate an alert and we would have to action that alert. We also have a timeline view. So we can see all the alerts for this specific incident and in a chronological order. What happened first, second, so on and so forth. Now, having all this information is great, but automating it is even better. Now, beyond this investigation, we can also build and run playbooks to automate security operations against a given alert. Playbooks can be triggered on demand for a given alert, or you can configure real-time automation while creating your analytic rules. Playbooks are created using logic apps. Now let's take a look at some of the playbooks we've created. Now for this specific incident, I can run any of these playbooks that we've created. Let's take a look at some of them. So to start, let's say I want to revoke their AD sign-in sessions. When I run this playbook, it's going to run against that alert. And let's take a look at what it has done. So in the overview section of this playbook, you can see the history of this playbook and the duration of how long it took to run. So this is the one that we just ran. If we click on it, we can see the process that it took to complete the playbook. All right, so in this case, it's revoking the AD sign-ins using Graph API. And the final step of this playbook is to send an email with this subject line, with this body, telling us that this user was involved in a security incident and we revoked their sessions. So if we take a look at our email, there it is. That's the email that came in just by the playbook that generated, and this user's sign-in sessions were revoked. So they would have to re-sign in, re-authenticate across all their applications. Another playbook that we can run is to block the user from signing in. Another one we can do is reset their password. And they all have a similar outcome. So if we're going to block the user from signing in and we run that, let's take a look at what it does. So it ran in 2.15 seconds. If we expand on that, we can see that the action taken here under update user was to block the user from signing in. So account enabled equals false. And it also sends an email to our SOC telling us details about this alert. So if we go back to our email, there it is. So we can customize the template, the body, the email, even in HTML format to our liking. In this case, there's a lot of variables, such as the name of the alert, the description, the time it was generated, severity, so on and so forth. This is fully customizable. So the use cases are endless in what you can do with playbooks. And finally, you can take a more proactive measure to preempt threats too. In the hunting page, you can find pre-built queries to start hunting for new anomalies and security threats across your organization logs. So in this case, there are a lot of pre-built queries generated by Microsoft that we can run. So we can run all queries at the same time to see which ones would actually give us a result, and then that would lead to us investigating even further. So in this case, let's just take the first one as an example. There are 39 results for consent to application discovery. If we click on the View Results button at the bottom, it's going to take us back to the Log Analytics workspace where it runs the query and generates the results for us in a readable format. And this tells us the user account, the IP address, the target resource name, timestamp, so on and so forth. And that would lead us to investigate even further, or whether we should allow people to consent to applications or not. And that is an overview of Sentinel and how it works.